Today I'm going to tell you why the PDK transmission is the best transmission that Porsche has ever used. In a previous video I said that the Tiptronic transmission was the best transmission that Porsche makes. Well, I say a lot of things, and to be clear, Porsche did not actually make that transmission. It was either made by ZF or Mercedes-Benz depending on the year. And it may be the case that the PDK transmission is actually the best transmission that Porsche has ever used. PDK stands for Porsche and some word in German that I can't really say, but that means dual clutch. The dual clutch design means that it shifts so fast that you almost don't even feel it. Simply put, because the car is already ready for the next gear, it can shift faster than is humanly possible. Where previous automatic transmissions used by Porsche were not able to shift as fast or quicker than the manual option in most situations, providing the manual is driven by a professional racing driver, the PDK turns this on its head. And hey, one clutch is great, but two clutches are even better. With the Tiptronic transmission that preceded the PDK, Porsche used buttons on the steering wheel to allow for manual shifting up and down. The early PDK models also got buttons on the steering wheel that went in and out, allowing for shifting in manual mode from either hand. Now, Porsche can be a very stubborn company, and they'll keep doing what they think is best, even if that isn't everyone else's opinion. They did this for as long as possible with the switches on the steering wheel. However, Porsche finally saw the light and had the flappy paddle gearbox. And most people find that the paddle shifters do improve the driving experience. I mean, manual only snobs will just not be impressed, but the rest of us will just hit the right paddle and fly right by. Outside of the 997 turbo with the Tiptronic transmission, the claimed 0 to 60 time by Porsche of an automatic transmission was always slower than its manual counterpart. Of course, in the real world, that was only really true if someone could really drive that manual transmission like a professional driver. But with the PDK, the 0 to 60 times go down across the board when compared to a manual transmission, often by half a second or even a bit more. Now, the faster 0 to 60 time does have the trade-off of a slightly lower top-end speed of a few miles. But outside of driving on a track with very long straightaways or the Autobahn, if everyone actually got off of it, you'll never get a chance to actually tell the difference in the top speed. In a modern Porsche with a PDK transmission, you can hit 60 miles per hour on a freeway on-ramp faster than you can say, well, freeway. Starting with the 997.1 and 987.1, a sports mode was an option. When optioned and in sport mode, it would firm up the suspension, and when offered with the Tiptronic transmission, it offered a sportier shift pattern when sports mode was engaged. With the PDK transmission, this is taken to the next level. Sports mode is just perfect for sporting driving on a back road. The suspension is made just a bit firmer, and the engine is allowed to rev out just a little bit more in automatic mode. With Sports Plus, you get what you need for the track. From a shifting standpoint, it will let the engine rev out all the way, allowing you to get the best possible performance when you just hammer it. Plus, you get a nice party trick called launch control. With the Tiptronic transmission that the PDK replaced, you never had as many gears as the manual option had. With the PDK transmission, there are either 7 or 8 gears depending on which year and model. This means you get as many or more gears than a manual transmission, depending on if you choose the 911, Boxster, or Cayman, and of course the year of that model. This does help you get a bit better fuel economy when you compare a PDK model to a Tiptronic model. Of course, with any Porsche sports car, it's more about miles per gallon than miles per gallon. So for most people, fuel economy does take a back seat, but it's a nice bonus. As you can clearly see, the PDK transmission is the best transmission ever to be used by Porsche. Of course, it could cost you over $20,000 if you ever have to replace it, but other than that, it's all good. Now, if you'd like to see my thoughts on why the Tiptronic transmission is actually the best transmission that Porsche has ever used, check out this video.